Hello everyone and welcome to this week's game development log video diary, and this week I've been adding particle effects to weapons and armour. So the first thing that I did this week was to simply add the support for equipable items to actually emit particle effects, and you can see a very simple example of that here. When I put on this helmet, it causes a new particle system to be added to the world. To start off with, I just had to manually edit this effect into the item's configs file. But obviously, if you wanted to make complex particle effects for items, then having to manually write down all of the settings wouldn't be very practical. So I then did a bit more work on the item editor to add support for adding particle effects to equipable items. So here you can see that each clothes section now has a particle effects button, which I can click to bring up the particle system options for that bone. This section currently has no particle system, so it's set to none, but I can change it to use any of the particle systems that I've already made. And I can change the position of the particle effects down here if I want to. There's also an option to create a totally new particle effect, which brings up the same particle panel that I have in the entity editor, and it basically allows you to create any particle effect that you can think of. And of course there are also options to edit any of the particle systems once you've made them. All the particle effect information gets saved into the item's configs file, so that all gets loaded up into the game, making it very easy to add particle effects to items. And I've got a few examples here, such as these nice gloves, this flaming sword, and this spirit bow. And this all worked great, but there was still one thing that I wasn't very happy about, and that was the huge trail that the particles would leave behind them when the player moved. Especially for fire effects, it just didn't look quite right, so I have now added another option for particle effects which allows them to behave a little bit more realistically. The velocity of the particle emitter is now added to all of the emitted particles' velocities, and this results in much less of a trail when the player moves, even when it moves at extremely high speeds. It also creates this kind of spraying effect, as if the player was waving around a flower covered in pollen or something. In the old system, when you did an attack, the particles would leave behind a trail, but now in the new system they all get flung out because of the velocity of the sword. This system is great for particle-y things, but for some things like fire that in real life isn't very particle-y, it still looks a little bit strange. So I'll probably have to implement a third system that will allow particles to simply follow the particle emitter around. I didn't really have much time to add many new models into the game this week, but I did add in this brilliant shadow armour set that was made by Erik quick, so thank you very much for that. However, I am going to be spending a lot of time this weekend adding in loads of the models that you guys have been making for the game, so if you've made a model for the game, then there's a good chance that you'll see it in next week's devlog. And if anyone else would like to get involved with this project and help make this game become a reality, then please do send me an email. But that is it for this week. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you all next time.